afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones, for this 15th of July, 2025. 2 hours to play with. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. We are live and in living color on Triax57, of course, on X, my YouTube channel at Rich Quinones, as well as Facebook on, again, another hot and humid Tuesday up and down the East Coast, down the shore. I'm seeing this weather is just ridiculous. So if you guys are driving around, hopefully you're not hitting those areas of floods and the North Jersey and Tom's River. And I saw the subway stuff and I saw everything going on with the sinkholes and the turnpike and horrible, 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 horrible. I mean, it's bad weather. It's bad weather. And I know our friends down in Florida, in Tampa, where mi hermano Angel is, they've been getting hit with some bad weather as well. So we're at the midway point of the baseball season. Steve Gardner, in about 10 or so, USA Today great writer, Hall of Fame voter, will join me. We'll look at some of the storylines in the second half of the baseball season. Did anyone watch the home run derby last night? Show of hands, show of hands, show of hands. I will wait. I will wait. I will wait. Full disclosure, did not. I didn't. I had no desire to watch it. I'll watch a little bit of the All-Star game tonight, but I kind of told you exactly where I felt and how I feel regarding MLB All-Star game. Lloyd Vance at 5:05, his weekly spot. Of course, Lloyd does a great job as host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on 102.9 FM The Game. How about some of these NFL news and notes coming down today? Wilson signing a big contract with the Jets. Sauce Gardner signing a big contract with the Jets. Kansas City locking up players. And perhaps there's a little bit of tension brewing in D.C. with the Commanders. Perhaps. So we will get into that as well. I did not watch last night. And I'm wondering, I'll throw it out there for you guys. Are you not, years ago, we used to watch the home run derby and we used to watch the All-Star game. Are you not watching it because you just have no interest in the sport of baseball? Are you not watching it because it's just laissez-faire? It's not like it was years ago. The All-Star game, I think, has lost some luster. I really do. Remember when they tried to make it, look, win the game, right? Win the game. And what did we talk about? Home field advantage. I mean, think about that. Now, again, it no longer determines home field advantage. That was a rule that was in place in 2003, 2016, but since 2017, obviously the team with the better regular season record is awarded home field advantage in the World Series. I didn't care for that either, because ultimately I don't believe in home field advantage in baseball. I don't even know if I believe in home field advantage in basketball or the NFL. I mean, home field advantage works for you in the NFL if you're hosting a game and you reside in the Northeast and you're hosting a divisional round or an NFC championship, say in DC, Philly, Baltimore, New York, Buffalo, and the weather is going to be nasty at that moment. That's really the only time I think it would favor you. Other than that, home field advantage in the Stanley Cup Finals, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I don't really think there's an advantage there either, especially what we've seen over the last several years. I don't believe there are home field advantages in sports. I don't. And maybe you guys do. I don't. I think any given Sunday, any given day of the week, depending upon where you're laying your hat with these games, I think you have an opportunity to go on the road and win. Now, that's just me. And I've seen it through sports. I've seen it in the NFL. I've certainly seen it in baseball. I've seen teams go on the road and win game sevens. I've seen that. I mean, I think we've all seen that. So we'll kind of do a straw poll, see what you guys think. If you are going to watch any of the game tonight, as always, get social with us. You can follow along at Triax57 on Facebook, IG, and X. You can log on to Triax57.com. And myself, Rich Q, on Q on IG and also on X and TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. and no picks because we are at the midway point. But again, we got a lot of stuff, a lot of baseball to dive into. I will say this: trade deadline's right around the corner. And I still maintain that teams like the Yankees, the Phillies, and the Mets are going to be players. 100% going to be players. These divisions right now, they're competitive. Aside from the AL Central, where Detroit's up 11.5 over Minnesota, these other divisions are pretty competitive. I think we can all agree. But we know that the baseball season is extremely long. We know that some teams that might be 6, 7, 8, 9 games over 500. Heck, the Phillies are 14 games over 500, but they still need to make a move. The Mets are 13 games over 500, but they still need to make a move. The Cubs are almost 20 games over 500. They're going to make a move. They might try to get another bat. They might try to get another arm over in the NL West. Same thing with the Dodgers. So we know that the trade deadline in baseball, it's always interesting because when you look at a team like in our backyard, you've got the Philadelphia Phillies, you've got the Mets, and you got the Yankees. I think the Phillies are going to try to get another arm or two. And I know that there's some interest into upgrading their bullpen. I know there's a couple teams that they are looking at. I think they're looking at, a change also in left field. So I think no matter what, listen, they're going to make a move. They're going to make a move, and they're going to try to upgrade as best as possible. You'll hear the name Duran, you'll hear Griffin Jack, you'll hear some of those names that are kind of on the horizon when it comes to potential trade bait, right? If you dangle that out there a little bit as well. And I think, too, listen, you look at Philly and the Philadelphia Phillies, they gambled on Romano in the winter. It hasn't worked out, right? You got that PED suspension for Alvarado, which means he's not only going to miss half the year, but it's ineligible to pitch in the postseason for the Phillies. So they're desperate. They need some sort of, lockdown relief arm. And remember, too, Hoffman, Estevez, they walked on free agency last year. The Reds, Diaz has been torched of late. I don't know if there are going to be some teams looking for him as well. Then we talk more about the Mets and the Yankees, and we'll do that in about 5 or so with Steve Garner. But second half, once we get through the All-Star game tonight, then we start to look ahead not only to the second half baseball, but also we start to move ahead to the NFL. And there's a lot of NFL news, notes, and nuggets coming down. But I want to hear from you guys. Let's open it up. Man, always impatient. Let's go enough of the banker hours crowd. Well, we fired off at 4. We fired off at 4. I mean, I got the clock set. No interest in the home run derby. No interest in the All-Star game. Love baseball. Hate the All-Star festivities now. Why is that, though? Why is that? Why do we not like the All-Star break, the home run derby, the All-Star game? What is it that we don't like? I know baseball. I mean, I don't watch the Pro Bowl anymore or for years, that's become a joke. The skills competition in the NHL. I think the last great, now this is me, I think the last great All-Star games that we used to have were when they actually played defense in the NBA. And I'm going back 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. Those games meant something. They meant something, not only for the casual fan, the novice fan, but the hardcore fan. They meant something. Guys were playing lockdown defense. I still have old VHS of 87, 88, 89, 90. Remember Magic Johnson's last All-Star game? He's backing down Isaiah Thomas, and he hits that three-pointer. I mean, that was unbelievable when he came back HIV and all that stuff. I mean, that was a great All-Star game. It really was. I mean, he backed them down, and then boom, he popped it in, man. I mean, that was unbelievable. That was fun to watch. You got to look at Magic Johnson, right? When you thought twilight of the career, scores 22. Olajuwon was a beast in that game as well. But that was fun. That was fun to watch. Jordan, Bird, Magic, Isaiah, Patrick, Robinson, Duncan. It was fun to watch. Even with the McGrady's and the Vince Carters and the Iversons. But Now, not so much. Not so much. I just, again, I think ultimately it has lost such appeal. They tried to make too much with the home run derby, too much tinkering. All-Star game deciding World Series home advantage was good, made the teams with contending players try harder. Yeah, but I think ultimately, I mean, I'd have to go back and see all those teams that won and how it really factored in to, the outcome of the World Series or the edge, the competitive edge when we were talking about those World Series, if that makes sense. I just think it's lost its luster. I think I'm just too old school, to be quite honest with you. And that's why I think I maintain that the NBA All-Star game, when you had the slam dunk contest, when you had the three-point shot, and when you had the game that actually meant something, that was fun to watch. The NFL Pro Bowl used to mean something, and then it just turned basically into Olay defense and flag football. And you weren't going to get a lot of players playing in it because they were off to the postseason. I think the last competitive Pro Bowl game, I mean, you probably have to go back to the early 2000s. The early 2000s. I mean, look, even that 2000 or 1999 one, I think they scored 82 combined points. But there were some good Pro Bowl games prior to that where the game meant something. Guys were hitting. They were playing defense, right? They were playing big-time defense. Last generation didn't care if it was a game 7 or in the neighborhood courts. They wanted to embarrass each other. That's true. That's true. Baseball was better at the turn of the century than it is now. I still think the sport's, I think the sport's good. I think postseason baseball is very exciting, especially when you get to October. I think it's meaningful. I think it's fun. But has it lost a little bit? I think everything loses a little bit over time. I do. I think, everything loses a little bit of shine, a little bit of luster over time. De facto says Sean Taylor blasted the punter. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That is, you know what? That is reading the room. Correct. The room. Correct. Thank you. Let's mark the tape. 4:12 on a Tuesday, which I think now we are going to designate Middays with Q on a Tuesday, Read the Room Tuesday. I think it's a done deal. I think because of that, it's a done deal right now. De facto comes in there. He could have easily given me the lazy take about, Terry M and DC and tensions running amok. And what about my Commanders? And he read the room, and that's what it's all about. He comes up with a, I guess you can say a, not even an intelligent, but an engaging comment regarding the topic, the current topic. He was on point. There you go. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to see on this Read the Room Tuesday. All right, 13 past the 4 o'clock hour. Yeah, that's true. We got about an hour and 15 left, an hour and 20 left. So be it, right? Steve Gardner on baseball. We'll get his thoughts. He's a purist like I am, and historian. But I want to get also into the MLB trade deadline right around the corner. And then we got to get into the NFL. Got a mixed bag, couple other things. A movement, a shakeup going on at Fox Sports. Oh, my goodness. You want to talk about shaking the trees. They are definitely shaking the trees. The changing of media and the landscape of media and sports talk, it continues. But that's also an instance where you had to just clean out the dirty laundry, no pun intended. All right, 15 past 4 o'clock hour. We're just cranking up early on a, let's call it a Read the Room Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. We're live Monday to Friday, 4 to 6, right here on Triax57 on YouTube, on X as well, on my YouTube channel at Rich Q. Of course, on Q. Quick timeout, talk a little baseball, MLB break, All-Star voting, and what the Phils, the Mets, and the Yankees need to do in the second half of the baseball season. Sleepers, if you will, as well, with Steve Gardner on the other side. Keep it locked in. 15 past 4 o'clock hour on a very, very, very busy Tuesday down the shore.
The glass got the drinks pouring. Take a risk like it's a short thing. Going in, yeah, I'm going all in. Get it out, yeah, you can bring a friend. Dive right in, let's go. No more than dip in the cold. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Dive right in, let's go. No more than
what the Down Beach Seafood Fest is all about. It's about community, it's about friends, it's about culture, right? The food culture in Atlantic County is rich.
All right, 16 past 4 o'clock hour on a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. We'll take up to 6 o'clock straight up. As always, don't forget to get social with us. Very easy to do. Triax57 on Facebook, IG, and X. You can log on to triax57.com. You can follow me on IG and X at RichQ. And, of course, on TikTok, RichQ on the mic. And we are joined with our very good friend, Steve Gardner. I thought he'd be out and about, maybe getting in some batting practice with this all-star game festivities. Yep. Did a great job. USA Today. Of course, MLB Hall of Fame voter, kind enough to join me on a Tuesday in his weekly spot. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Rich. How about you?
I'm doing well. Now, full transparency, I did not watch the Home Run Derby last night, and I'm probably going to flip through the All-Star game tonight. Now, knowing that yes, I know. Now, you hear that from me, and I get it. You're already taken aback. I started to show off with this. I feel as though the All-Star games have lost some luster. And yesterday, a lot of guys were commenting in, baseball fans, baseball historians, and purists as well, with the voting per se. And I think a lot of it goes back to what the Phillies thought was a slight on some of their players with, what was it, the kid from Milwaukee?
Jacob Mizorowski.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Manfred came out and kind of defended that. If you were to change something when it comes to the MLB voting, what would you do?
I don't want to sound like an old guy wanting to go back to the roots.
Go to the porch. Go ahead.
I like the punch cards, man.
Somebody said that yesterday. Somebody
mailing them in and everything. That was fun.
Somebody said that yesterday, and I said, "What'd you get? You also get to go to the movie for 35 cents and have a cup of coffee and a sliced pie."
Indeed. No, and that was just a part of my childhood and the ritual. I understand baseball has to, market things, and you've got to have all these rounds of voting and everything. So I think you're not going to change the players that don't want to be there or would rather not be there or could find a way to get out of being there. And right. I think that's one of the things that you find with any All-Star game, sure. With the Pro Bowl, with the NBA All-Star game, NHL, any of those, you're going to have a good number of players that just don't really want to be there. And so I don't know that there's anything that you can really do to fix that. And, to avoid the constant barrage of, okay, you voted 5 times every day for a week. Now you got to vote for more, after we've narrowed down some of these candidates. I think it leads to some voting fatigue. So, if it weren't such an important thing that baseball get to collect all these page views and impressions and everything else for their advertisers, let's just vote once, let the top guys go, and kind of lean on them a little bit. If you get voted in and you're not hurt, you need to go and play. And then maybe play them for more than 1 or 2 innings at a time, which I think, we're going to see those stars that did get voted in as starters play, get 1 at bat, play a couple innings, and then they're gone. And we're left with a lot of replacements.
This is a great comment here. Madman says, nothing better than going to the vet stadium and seeing the hole punch cards. I still have some of those as well back in the late 80s to early 90s. I don't have a problem. Like in the NFL, back in the day in the NFL, if there was 5 offensive or 6 offensive players of the Dallas Cowboys, they got elected to the Pro Bowl. They went. Remember now, baseball was like, well, we want to try to showcase a player from each team respectively. And then obviously they tried, to switch it up a little bit. The game's got to have meaning. I mean, you would know this before I would. I was trying to look back to see, the whole, 7, 8 year, 9 year stretch where whoever won the AL or the NL got home field advantage in the World Series. How many of those World Series came down to that Game 7 at home? I don't know. But point being is, I tend to believe if you're the best player and you get voted in, you should get voted in. And I should not, like the Phillies deserve to have several players selected. Obviously, Wheeler decides to pull himself, and rightfully so. I get it, thinking long term, but I never got into the fan voting and the scan this and get there, and you got to keep punching for this guy to get it. It to me
Mhm.
loses its luster and the whole appeal because it's supposed back in the day it was meaningful.
Yeah, yeah, and I still there's maybe in the internet age there's a way to do it, but it's still kind of rough that we don't, as fans, get to vote for the pitchers. That's part of the game. I would love to have a couple different pitchers that were my favorites over the years that didn't make it to the All Star game. I would love to be able to have voted them in. So maybe that's a tweak they could make at some point down the line, and have the fans vote for 3 pitchers or something like that, and then use the rest to make up players from each team and pitchers that can pitch and will be available, that sort of thing.
I pulled this up the other day. This was the 1988 All-Star game. American League won 2-1. So in
Hmm.
the AL, Viola, Steinbeck, McGuire, Molitor, Boggs, Ripken Jr., Canseco, Winfield, Henderson. They had a bunch of very good pitchers: Reardon, Plesac, Jones, Clemens,
Yeah.
Steve. I mean, I didn't even get. I'm looking at the NL. I didn't even get to the reserves for the AL. Mattingly, Brett, Guillen, Trammell. I mean, I can just keep going. Point is, I think 88, 89, 99, all that prior to, I think those were the heyday for the All-Star game. And I equated it to when the NFL was actually tackling during the Pro Bowl and the NBA was playing defense in the All-Star game. You go back 15, 20, 25 years ago. Now, like you said, they're trying to make it an event. And it's very hard to sell. Like the draft, the MLB draft. We were talking about it yesterday. You can't rival what the NFL does. You can't.
Right, right. We don't know those players.
Nope.
We haven't seen them
Nope.
unless been watching the College World Series or whatever. But certainly not the high school players. We won't see them in the major leagues, most of them, for at least a couple of years. And the other thing is too, nobody's there. There's no green room. There's nobody to come up and shake Rob Manfred's hand. So you lose that part of the pageantry as well. It's really trying to, they're trying to make it a thing, make it happen. And, it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of cringeworthy how, we know it's not going to work like the NBA and the NHL, but they keep trying, or NBA and the NFL, but they keep trying it anyway.
Yeah. Well, after tonight, we look ahead to the second half of the season. Let's stick in my backyard for a moment. I still believe, the Phillies and the Mets are going to go 1-2 in the NL East. And I know you and I have talked about it. Sometimes the Phillies offense is a little feast or famine. I still believe they're going to have to go out and get another arm. But the pitching, every time I start to question the pitching, whether it's Suarez or Luzardo, they come back. They have some good outings. Rangers pitch well. Sanchez has pitched well. Suarez has pitched well. Luzardo has pitched well. Wheeler has been absolutely dominant. So right now, as it stands, not even talking about the Phillies winning the NL East, but, had all their horses together. What's their priority second half of the season, trade deadline right around the corner, that you believe can get them over the hump, get into the World Series and win it?
I mean, it seems like you got to have a closer. You got to have somebody that you can rely on at the back of the bullpen, and they've been piecemealing it the entire season. Jordan Romano wasn't the answer that they hoped he would be when they signed him this offseason. But yeah, I mean, you got the pitching staff, I think, to carry you into the postseason. You've got the hitters, maybe a little bit more depth. I mean, that outfield spot, that Max Kepler is occupying. Johan Rojas could be in, on any given day. That's probably the area offensively where they could use somebody to help lengthen the lineup. But otherwise, I think this roster is in pretty good shape, and is certainly championship ready or playoff ready to be able to make a run at it.
Yeah, and the Alvarado suspension kills him, right? Because he can't pitch in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. The Mets. I mean, I feel as though the Mets are kind of an enigma. There's talk now. Should they trade for Suarez? And they're everyone's breaking down these pros and cons, and they're trying to connect player here and a couple players here and there for the Mets. I can't figure out the Mets because I think everything the Mets do, it's
Hmm.
almost overshadowed by what Soto is or not doing, right? Alonso, look, I mean, Soto, you look up, he leads the team in home runs. I mean, he's got 23 home runs. He's batting 262.
Right.
I mean,
National League Player of the Month for June.
is this the Soto that they were expecting to get when they signed him to that just ridiculously large monster, historic contract?
No, I think, Rich, the Soto that they were expecting to get is a combination of Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. For Mets fans, I think that's what they were expecting, and anything less than that, any small blip or slow start or anything like that is going to get them enraged. And so Juan Soto is doing what he has always done, and he's been a fantastic player his entire career. Maybe the slow start in San Diego, when he went there in the trade from Washington, but otherwise he's doing exactly what he's always done. And I think he's been an even better outfielder than we give him credit for too. So I don't know. It's just I think it's mostly the Mets fans' expectations being so high because their owner is willing to pay so much for the superstar.
I think they need more pitching.
Mhm.
I don't think you can ever have too much.
Sure.
I know, Zach Gallen's name has been floated around from Arizona. You look, they started 45 and 25, right? Because of their starting pitching, 2.79 ERA, which is not bad. And you got this kid out of Arizona, kind of looks like his old self. I mean, again, trade deadline Mets, do you go for some more pitching help?
I think so. I mean, you always, like you said, you always need it. I think though, what they what may counter that need to, or perceived need to go out and get starting pitching, is Sean Manaea coming back, and
Yeah.
he was so good for them all of last year, and now just back on the roster finally, getting ready after the All-Star break to slot into that, maybe the number one slot in that rotation. And depending on how good he is, how much, how close he is to 100%, will probably determine what the Mets do in the next couple of weeks. Because if he's able to head that rotation, and then you've got Clay Holmes as the number two, All-Star David Peterson, in the third spot, Senga and Frankie Montas is coming back as well from injury. That's not a bad rotation. We saw how far they got last year
Yeah.
with the rotation that they had. I mean, I think this could be a better Mets team than they had a year ago when they went to the NLCS. So it's just a matter of how things break, if guys can stay healthy, and what happens that we don't expect.
I can't believe I'm about to say it's the hottest team in baseball, the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah,
I was going to say
how about
resides in
that?
the AL East, and it's not the New York Yankees, 10 straight. And the Yankees had an opportunity that I think give them an early gut punch in that series we documented a couple of weeks ago. They were not able to do that. And I blame a lot of that on Boone, but be that as it may, I think right now relief pitching. I mean, they walk too many hitters. They don't strike out enough. I think if you're a Boston Red Sox fan, you got to bolster that bullpen.
Yep. Again, and that's the one thing at the trade deadline too, is that you will see a lot of relief pitchers available. Multiple teams. It's
Yeah.
not like you're going for the ace starting pitcher.
Right, right, right.
People will be clamoring after Zach Gallen or whomever,
Mhm.
to be a number one, number two type starter to add, or Eugenio Suarez, as you mentioned. A lot of teams can use him and put him at third base. Relievers, if you miss out on one, there will be others. And I think that's one of the things where, sure, the Red Sox would love to be able to bolster their bullpen as well. Aroldis Chapman can't really go back-to-back days. At least he's not shown that he can. So there's a little bit of a weak spot there what happens when, you have those close games all in a row. So they'll certainly be in the market for a reliever. But otherwise, the Red Sox have been quite a story, quite a puzzle, because you look at trading away their best player in
Yeah,
Rafael Devers,
that's right.
and all of a sudden that's kind of coincided with when they've sort of hit the gas pedal and have become, viable contenders, playoff candidates. They certainly didn't look like it
Why,
earlier in the season, but
why
they do
is that?
now.
Why is that? Because a lot of times you have a shocking trade like that, and
Mhm.
sometimes the locker room is kind of looking around and they're like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, are we rebuilding? There's more to it, right? And we know he probably wasn't the best character guy or had some issues, but he was still their best player. And a lot of times a team might take a little bit of a dive, but they've kind of done the opposite. And to your point with the Mets and their current makeup, Boston right now, second half. I mean, Bregman's going to come back. He's returning soon. Anthony has an
Mhm.
OPS of nearly 1,000 over his past 10 games. Everyone's contributing. Abreu, Trevor Story, Toro, they're all contributing. Hence my, question to you, a reliever or two to shore things up. But how do you explain the fact that you jettison your best player and yet, they're overachieving?
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic case, I think, of distractions in the clubhouse, and where all the media is going to Rafael Devers and not getting answers, and going to to management and asking Alex Cora. Alex Cora's tired of answering questions about Rafael Devers,
Right.
and to be able to put all that aside and focus on the task at hand, I think is kind of liberating for a clubhouse. And if Devers is somebody that wasn't, he wasn't, I don't believe, a real clubhouse leader, a vocal guy that people turn to for advice and all that sort of stuff. Um, being out of the mix gives other people a chance to have their personalities grow and expand. I mean, you mentioned Roman Anthony being so good lately. Um, how do we not know that that's not a product of having that cloud lifted from the
Fair
clubhouse?
point. That's a very,
So,
very fair
it
point.
gives those youngsters room to breathe. And, the big problem that Boston was having was that, they have all these guys that they want to play, but if Devers is clogging up the DH spot, what are they going to do? Somebody's going to have to sit. Christian Campbell, who they sent down to the minors, but started the season on the opening day roster. He was volunteering to play at first base, and apparently, the scuttlebutt was that Rafael Devers got really upset about that, of the rookie volunteering to play the position that he refused to play. So
Ego.
I would have to think that that has some sort of impact in the clubhouse, and removing that distraction away from everybody gives them the opportunity to flourish on their own, and they have certainly done it.
I feel like every division in baseball is competitive, um, except for one, which I'm going to get into. The
Mhm.
Padres are 5.5 back. We know they can make a run here. The Dodgers, they haven't been Dodger like. The Cubs in Milwaukee, very compelling in the Central. We already talked about the Phillies and the Mets. Obviously, the AL East, AL West as well. Even though the Astros are trying to distance themselves, but the Mariners head into the break, haven't won 3 straight. Then you look at the Central, and I feel as though the Tigers are going to run away with it because they're just that much better. But these other teams, they can't score. I mean, their run differential, the Twins, the Royals, I
Yeah.
mean, they're not
You
good.
look you look at the standings and you see that the Tigers are plus 87 in runs this year, and everybody else is negative in
Yes,
that division. Makes sense because they're all below 500.
right.
But yeah, it's been those other teams. I know I thought the Royals, they were my like dark horse pick to win the AL pennant. I thought with Bobby Witt Jr.
Wow.
was somebody who could carry them. I liked their pitching staff. I thought it was really good. And Cole Reagan's being injured was a huge blow to that team. And I don't know if they have enough time to get back into the playoff picture. Cleveland again, a team that always seems to make do somehow, but yet they're struggling this year as well. And Minnesota can't really seem to put everything together all at once. So yeah, all that formula creates this classic mix where Detroit just is surviving and thriving at the same time, and it seems like nothing can really touch them right now.
I guess you'd have to say you're a buyer, you're a believer in Detroit because it's a bad Central, but then in the AL East and then in the AL West, look, we've seen the background and the pedigree and the resume by the Astros every single solitary year. I mean, for the last decade plus. If I were to ask you right now, who do you believe in more to make a run here, Toronto or Seattle?
I mean, the way that the Blue Jays have played recently, they had a 10-game win streak of their own,
Yeah.
and 4 of those against the Yankees to
Yeah.
catapult them into first place. So I'm impressed with what Toronto has done, and they're a lot like Detroit in that some injuries hamstrung them a little bit earlier on in the season, and some unknowns, guys that they maybe weren't counting on. Detroit, it's Javier Baez, Spencer Torkelson, kind of guys that had fallen out of favor, but they were forced to play in the lineup and play regularly, and they've had great seasons so far. Toronto's had maybe not to that degree, maybe not getting an all-star performance like the Tigers have with Baez, but Addison Barger has been really good. Nathan Lucas has been really good. The Jays have just had Christian Kirk, the catcher, has had a bounce back season for him. He's an AL All-Star, right? So I mean, that's the kind of production, maybe from unexpected places, that you need to have. And I kind of see a parallel between those two teams. And Toronto, I think, has got to be all in because with the Vladimir Guerrero contract and the Bo Bichette contract talks and everything that were going on over the off season, this feels like kind of a do or die moment for Ross Atkins, the GM. So I think Toronto's ready to go all in. And from what I've heard, the Blue Jays are going to be one of the most aggressive teams
Really?
at the trade deadline. So take that for what it's worth. But we've heard about the Blue Jays being aggressive, going after Ohtani and other free agents and everything. But in this case, where you're making trades and you're dealing with other teams and that sort of thing, I think they can be a little bit more aggressive and successful.
Yeah, they definitely have. They need starting pitching. Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
They have to, especially if they're thinking about making a deep run.
They need upgrading in the starting rotation, because I think they've been one of the teams that have gotten the most starts from their top 5 this entire season. It's been pretty stable, except for Max Scherzer, Jose Barrios, Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett. Those guys go out there every single day, and give their team a chance to win. So if Scherzer can't be that guy anymore, and it was worth a shot, then I think they would be in the Zach Gallen sweepstakes too.
You mentioned Scherzer. I don't know when we say what's more alarming. I mean, I just think he's just an older guy, and then you look at the season that Verlander is having. I mean, this guy can't get a win to save his life.
Yeah, it's a father time situation, man. I love those guys. I have loved watching both of them pitch for a long time, as back from when they were teammates in Detroit. And it's sad to see, but it happens to just about everybody. And we're reaching a point where Scherzer can't pitch more than 4 innings before the thumb is giving him trouble, and if the thumb gives him trouble, then it goes to his elbow and or his forearm and all that sort of stuff. It's tough, and maybe he summons the ability, and I think what the Dodgers are hoping too from Clayton Kershaw is just maybe he's able to stay healthy, and then in the postseason or down the stretch, use some of all that knowledge that he's had throughout his entire career, and just, pitch smartly and effectively, and give them, just that little spark that they need to win a game, stay in a game, or whatever on their way to making a playoff run.
Aaron Judge is batting .355. He has 35 home runs. He's driven in 81. Now, the kid that won the home run derby, the catcher from Seattle,
Yeah.
who's having a remarkable
Cal
season.
Raleigh is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I mean, he's not batting 355. It would have been great to have this discussion 1 and 2 when we talk about the Triple Crown. But when you look at the numbers that Judge is putting up over the last several like what's the the comparison, like what's the comp if you think about a player that's had this type of run over the last 3, 4, well, let's be honest, since 2022 when he hit 62 home runs.
I mean, it's not Bonzian, but it's in the range of Pujols, Miguel Cabrera, guys like that in their prime who, were perennially thought of as the best player in baseball. He doesn't run as much as Mike Trout did, in his heyday, but in terms of just incredibly, proficient, a daily offensive player. I don't know if there really is a comp that you can make. Judge is just so far head and shoulders above everybody, figuratively and literally.
If we go, and I say tongue in cheek, pre-cream with Bonds, 46 home runs in 93, 42, 151 in 96, 41, 45 with a 291 batting average in 97. Where I think you're talking is 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 49, 73, 46, 45, and 45. I pulled up Judge's numbers, 62, 37, 58, 35 right now with a half a season to go.
Yeah.
I mean, if he hits...
what if he hits? Put him in that Bonds category, right? I mean, in terms of the power numbers.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If he finished the season 335 and hits 59 home runs, 60 home runs, and drives in 130 runs, collects over 200 hits. I mean, it's just, I feel as though we used to say, okay, in the AL, it's pretty easy. It's pretty much going to be Trout or Ohtani. Now, obviously, Trout's not the player he once was. Ohtani, obviously, now in the NL, you can still say the best player in baseball. But in the AL, Judge is just, I don't know. To me, I look at him right now. He's a Hall of Famer. Yes?
Certainly tracking that way. I mean, if he fell off the of the earth tomorrow, maybe not, just because of the accumulation. But to me, there's no way that he won't end up with Hall of Fame numbers when he's all said and done, barring a catastrophic injury. So, if that's the question, then yeah, he's certainly got a streamlined path to Cooperstown.
Yeah, AL MVP.
Yes, and although I will say, if he does, maybe regress a little bit, and Cal Raleigh keeps going the way that he is, if Cal Raleigh wins the home run title, gets somewhere close to 60, and ends up also as, I think he won the Platinum Glove in the AL last year as the best overall defensive player. You throw that into the mix, and if the Mariners make it to the playoffs,
that's true.
You could make a really good case, narrative and statistically, for Cal Raleigh as the MVP in the AL. So I would say this race is certainly not over at the All-Star break.
And then conversely, the NL, I mean, Ohtani again is putting together ridiculous numbers.
Yep, no question. And the fact that in the second half, we're going to see him pitch more.
There you go.
We're going to see him pitch deeper into games. As long as Ohtani is a, I can't even say even just an average pitcher, because he's not. But as long as he is as good a pitcher as he has been in the past and still hitting, I don't think there's any way you can say that, with a straight face, anybody is more valuable than Shohei Ohtani.
Let me get you out of here on this. You mentioned you had a couple of dark horses earlier before the season started. Now to midway point, you get a mulligan. Give me a bold prediction second half of the baseball season.
All right, I'll stay away from predicting my Orioles catch fire.
Please do.
No, I'll say, let's see. Let's say a bold prediction would be that Yu Darvish comes back and becomes a top-notch kind of starter for the Padres and leads them into the playoffs as a wild card team, and they make some noise. Maybe even make it back to the NLCS
Wow.
and face the Dodgers. And well,
I feel
won't
like the
say that
Padres are always that team we talk about second half. It's always they've got the roster, they've got the talent, but
yep,
right.
something always happens. Something always bad happens.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe what if something good happens?
It's more likely that happens than unfortunately your O's. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I try to put them together.
Yeah, I know. I'm bracing for the sell off at the trade deadline.
Oh, it's coming, my friend, too. It's coming. Oh, it'd be here soon enough. All right, my friend. Well, I always appreciate it. I know we'll do it again next week. Second half of the season will be underway. Trade deadlines right around the corner. We'll dissect that a little more. Enjoy the game tonight. Always appreciate you swinging by for a couple moments.
All right. Thanks so much, Rich. Always a pleasure. All
right. Right back at you. There you have it. Very good friend. Steve Gardner does an outstanding job. USA Today covering baseball. I know we're behind. Have to take a quick time out. I see some comments coming in on baseball. We will get to that. You guys can get in on the conversation. Lloyd Vance at 5:05. And now, because it's been quiet for 15, I do believe we have come up with the Read the Room Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. We'll break it down on the other side.
Hidden in an abandoned campground in South Jersey lies a mystical encounter with brews and spirits, where bonfires burn, shadows dance, and flavor favors the bold. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, grown-ups, it's time to reclaim Halloween. This is Witchcraft, October 10th and 11th. For tickets and information, visit witchcraftnj.com.
Hi, I'm Bruce Pascoe. I'm very fortunate. Years ago, I found something that I genuinely like to do, and it's something that helps other people. What I do is help people transition from traditional health insurance into Medicare. I've been doing it here in Atlantic County for more than 20 years. If you're getting ready for Medicare, call me for a free consultation. 609-484-9800.
All right, 449. Good stuff from Steve Gardner, and appreciate him joining us. It's funny too because he just texted me next Tuesday is on vacation. I think we will be traveling to next Tuesday for an event, so I'm not sure yet. Again, and I tell you guys now, Tuesday to Tuesday, plenty of time. I'm letting you guys know. Vince chimes in. How about this? Jags. I wonder if they got some Jags jerseys down there. What's up, Pete? Hola from beautiful Puerto Rico. Wow. What part of Puerto Rico are you at as we speak right now? Dígame. Hola, ¿cómo está? ¿Qué pasa contigo, Vince? Where are you? What part of Puerto Rico are you enjoying yourself in? Here we go. Did anyone see the Ohtani interview on McAfee? It was just me, or was that cringe? No, I did not. And by the way, man, I just said I have a friggin' event, and I mentioned it's next Tuesday. What do you want me to do? You got a problem with the banker hours, right? Read the room. No, what do you know? Preliminary bank, preliminary. What is that? Preliminary banker hours, excuses, juices. Isn't that like ayahuasca? No. Absolutely not. It's a pretty good event that we got coming up with the Jersey Shore breaks at a couple breweries. Oh, really? Okay. Conquistador. Oh, conquistador, caballeros. See, that's how you have to say it. You have to walk around and just be like, hola, bienvenidos, mis hermanos, mis hermanas, chicas, chicos, chicas chompen. That's good. How's the weather? That's what I want to know. How's the weather in Puerto Rico? Never been. Always wanted to go, though. What's it, about 85? Probably in San Juan right about now. And look at this. You're chiming in, right? What is the event? We want to heckle you in person. No, I'm not even it's not. No, it's a player event. It's not it's a player event. It's a meet and greet at I believe it's at a brewery, and a lot of local business owners will be there. So I'm not even, man, I'm not even pulling that comment up, and you know why. That's good. It's very hot. That's fine. It should be 86. You should have fun. Sarge chimes in. Q, have no desire to watch the home run derby, no desire to watch the All-Star game, and I'm going to agree with you. The last great All-Star game was probably 89-90 in the NBA. Not bad. 88 baseball was pretty good, as I mentioned, 2-1. That wasn't bad. First Lady chiming in. Q, I know we're not doing cookie talk like you were on Monday, but I'm going to agree with you on something. The black and white cookie is beyond underrated. Enjoyed the baseball talk. How about that? 86 feels like 94. That's because of the humidity. Go in the water, take a dip. Cool off a little bit, as we like to say. Lloyd's going to join me at 5:05. Let me get to a couple more. Kevin and Jackson chimes in. Q, I definitely think that the Yankees have to add another arm. I wouldn't be surprised if they went after another bat. I don't trust Boone's second half of the season, nor should you. They dropped 2 or 3 to the Cubs. They had a nice little run against the Mariners. Everyone was playing their money line. And then they lost 2 or 3 in the Mets prior too. Yankees are so feast or famine. They really are. They are very. Matty Ice in Wilmington chimes in. Q, I'm not sure if I heard Steve correctly. Did he say that Judge is not near Bond's territory? Laugh out loud. I think he meant it when we were talking about the heyday of Bonds, right? Now, if you listen, I went back and I looked at the numbers, and I'm not going to say I gave Steve a little pushback, but if you go back over the last 4 or 5 years, I mean, Judge clearly has been the best player in baseball. Go back to 2021. He hit 39. He drove in 98. He had 287, 290 batting average. Then he comes back 62, 37, 58. He's on pace for 70 home runs. To me, at this moment, he's already a Hall of Famer. He's already, I mean, how many MVPs, how many Triple Crowns does Aaron Judge need to win? Now, here's the knock on Aaron Judge, and I can see you guys right away. Postseason. You have to perform in the postseason. Like, regular season is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. You bat .333, you drive in a .130, and you slug 45, 50 home runs. That's incredible. That's a great regular season. But as you know, if you want to go and you want to be, if you want us to put you in that other category, you know, look, he's Rookie of the Year. He's won the MVP 2 out of the last 3 years. He's going to win the MVP again, Triple Crown. He's going to be back-to-back MVP. I don't think the kid from Seattle is going to have the staying power. I just don't. He's had a phenomenal season. His numbers are staggering. They really are, Aaron Judge. But Aaron Judge will be, when it's all said and done, you'll look at his regular season and he'll hit 450 home runs and he'll bat .333 and, you know, put together a wonderful, brilliant career. But right now, if we stopped Aaron Judge's career, people are just going to turn around and say $184. And that's the postseason. That's the postseason. I mean, it might even be a little higher. I think that's what he hit last year. It might be like $190, 200, but still, that's the postseason. Like, you can't be considered an all-time great until you have that moment in the postseason. He struck out 20 times last year in the postseason. Like, you have to have your moments. You have to have your moments, and he still has not yet had those moments. And I think you're measured by those, all great players. We look and we want to see what they do in the postseason. And for some, short career, a la Terrell Davis, that burst averaged what? $135, $140 in the playoffs for the Denver Broncos. That was enough to get him in the Hall of Fame. Judge has a long career ahead of him, no doubt, but he's got to get it done in the postseason. That's where you're measured. Whether it's fair or foul, it doesn't matter. That's where we measure you. We want to see, can this guy perform in the clutch? Can they? And few can, and you can have a wonderful career, but it's a different animal come October. It's a different animal in football come, January and February. Who's going to rise to that challenge? Who's going to rise to that occasion? What do we got here? Eagle 6 in Cape May. Q, listening to you down the dial. Good to see you here. Never heard of the platform, but enjoying you. Well, that's okay. The platform is also my YouTube channel. What's your Eagles point? So the Eagles point is this. This is hilarious. Are you guys ready for this comment? I know yesterday you were talking a little bit about Sirianni. It feels like you were being a little too passive aggressive. Do you still feel Sirianni is a joke and a clown of a head coach? Where would you rank him right now? He won a Super Bowl. I don't know why you guys get so caught up on this stuff. We mentioned it yesterday because Sirianni made the comments regarding Jalen Hurts to back his quarterback. I felt, the fact that I actually have to defend Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles is absolutely absurd. It gets annoying after a while. Like, what the hell do you want me to say? They won the friggin' Super Bowl. Enough is enough. Now come back and win it again. Then I'll shut up even more. I really wish it was September right now because all this is just smoke and mirrors nonsense. It is. It really is. I don't care about list, Madden, top 5, top 10, does not matter. Like, get me to week 1 so we can just end this madness. Because then when this team, if they struggle a little bit, which I'm not saying they are out of the gate, but if they struggle a little bit, then all the goofballs that wanted to, on Hurts are going to come out of the woodwork. If they go 4-0, 5-0, and he lights the world on fire, then all the goofballs that were backing Hurts are going to come out of the woodwork. That's being a fan in the NFL. That's being a fan in the NFL. It just, again, it's, you guys take it and you take it to another level with certain things. Everyone is allowed to have an opinion. Everyone is allowed to have an opinion, period. We don't have to just agree. We don't. We really don't. Monday Marcus, Q, I was laughing out loud when you said the shakeup at Fox. Ha, 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 no pun intended. Yeah. They canned everyone. Listen, eventually when you're cutting ties, that's what happens, right? They canceled 3 shows and then got rid of a bunch of hosts, a bunch of players. It didn't work out. I know Carton's out of a job again. I know he's probably going to find his way back to WFAN in New York because he's tight with Oliveri, and that's pretty much his capitan that makes a push for him. But you knew when that lawsuit came down, everything that was going on. Listen, the whole thing with Joy Taylor, this is months after she was named in that sexual assault lawsuit. What were they waiting for with that nonsense and everything that was going on behind the scenes? So, yeah, the cast of characters and all these guys are just gone. Gone. It's just, if the talent's not matching what you're paying and the ratings are not there and you've got this kind of nonsense going on and you've got lawsuits coming out of the yin yang, I'm telling you, it's not hard to figure out. It really isn't. There's no secret sauce here. That hairstylist filed that lawsuit back in 2012, right? I'm sorry. She filed it, last year, right? And she worked there for almost 12 years. And then this happens in 2017. And, you have all this backstabbing and all this stuff going on and character issues and, defamation of character and, the whole thing with Skip Bayless. That's a horrible look, a bad look I mean, look, I was not a fan of either. I wasn't a fan of Acho, and I wasn't a fan of Taylor. I thought some of the takes were just absolutely horrible. Horrible. I really do. But again, you find a way to appease a certain mass or market, and you cultivate certain contacts. At this stage of the game, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And obviously they got their gigs, and here you go. And they got paid handsomely for those gigs. And that's sports media. That's sports media, period. All right, Lloyd Vann's coming up on the other side. Quick timeout.
Glass got the drinks pouring. Take a risk like it's a short thing. Going in, yeah, I'm going all in. Get it out, yeah, you can bring a friend. Dive right in, let's go. Move forward and dip in the cold. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Dive right in, let's go. Move forward and dip in the cold. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Dive right in.
This is what the Down Beach Seafood Fest is all about. It's about community, it's about friends, it's about culture, right? The food culture in Atlantic County is rich.
Hidden in an abandoned campground in South Jersey lies a mystical encounter with brews and spirits, where bonfires burn, shadows dance, and flavor favors the bold. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, grown-ups, it's time to reclaim Halloween. This is Witchcraft, October 10th and 11th. For tickets and information, visit witchcraftnj.com.
Hi, I'm Bruce Pascoe. I'm very fortunate. Years ago, I found something that I genuinely like to do, and it's something that helps other people. What I do is help people transition from traditional health insurance into Medicare. I've been doing it here in Atlantic County for more than 20 years. If you're getting ready for Medicare, call me for a free consultation. 609-484-9800.
All right, 5 o'clock hour straight up. This is a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Appreciate everyone keeping us tuned in. Good stuff from Steve Gardner. Lloyd Vann's going to join me in a moment or two, and we will punch him up. As always, get social with me. Triax57 on Facebook, IG, Triax57.com, and of course, IG and X, and TikTok, Rich Q on the mic, as we like to say. All right, let me get through some more of these comments, and then, as I alluded to you guys, we will punch up Lloyd, and we will see what's going on in the world of the NFL, because the we know that the NFL never sleeps, right? We always talk about that. The NFL never sleeps, never sleeps, never sleeps, never sleeps. And I think the NFL, I ultimately look at the NFL, and I think, For a minute, I'm sorry. I think we're syncing. So hold on, guys. Let's go to a commercial. What do we got here? Studio. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm not really sure what just transpired with Evie Mux, which is what else is new. So what we'll do is we'll take a time out. We'll come back. All right, so we're going to keep it here. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully, you guys can hear me. I'm not sure what's going on my end, but if you can hear me, that would be wonderful. We'll keep it in. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock. I'm not going to fidget or touch anything. We're going to go all the way through. Let me see if I can get some more comments in here. I do apologize for that because, as I alluded to, we just want to keep it right here. I don't know if we're going to be able to punch up Lloyd, but I know that sometimes with Evie Mux, sometimes when we do the streaming like that, there seems to be a little bit of some glitchiness. And certainly we don't want to end the broadcast. We end the broadcast. That's never a good thing. So with that being said, all right, we'll take up to 6. We're going to blow through some of the breaks. I want to get to some of these comments. As I mentioned, I apologize if you guys were tuning in and I might have lost you for a moment. Let me get to some of these comments and see what you guys are saying out there. Pat in Summers Point chimes in on X. Good spot with Steve. I always appreciate some good baseball talk. I know you mentioned that the Phillies definitely need another arm. It seems like every team in contention needs another arm. Yeah, they do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You look around baseball and it's just how it is right now. It really is. I mean, we know that the sport itself, you can never have enough arms in baseball. You know it, and I know it. So if you can add another arm, if you can go out and solidify the bullpen, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. And I think the Phillies right now, they're right there. I believe the Phillies are a very good team. I know that, they've had kind of hit or miss sometimes with their offense. I know they've had some issues. They've been a little stagnant at times, but I still believe when it's all said and done, the Phillies are going to be right there in the NL East. I think the Phillies can win the division. As much as I want to put stock in the Mets or have stock in the Mets, I just don't trust the Mets. And I think if you go back, we talked about last year, an aberration when it comes to the Mets. I think their run was remarkable, but ultimately, they don't match up. They don't have the horses like the Phillies do. The Phillies, to me, have horses. And if the Phillies lineup just wakes up a little bit, they're going to be able to score some runs. I mean, look what they've done now over their last several series. They dropped 2 or 3 to the Padres. They had the bad series against the Giants where they dropped 2 or 3. You had the one game that was postponed. They took 2 or 3 from a bad Reds team. The Braves gave them a little bit of fits, even though they won 2-1. Now they had that big win, 13-0, but they are somewhat feast or famine. Schwarber, for the numbers he puts up, they're ridiculous. Kyle Schwarber has 87 hits this year. 30 of them are for home runs. Castellanos has 12 home runs. Turner has 11. Kepler has 10. Harper has 10. And Harper's, he's been banged up. He's been banged up. His production, you're counting on Harper to be healthy come the postseason. And aside from last year, his production, and then 2021, he hit 35 home runs. His production has dropped 18 and 21. He had to bounce back year last year, and he's now hit 10 home runs. His batting average is right around 261, but he's only played in 68 games. So if anything, you want Harper to be healthy. And if he's not healthy, then you're going to have some problems. If he's not healthy, you're going to have problems. He is the catalyst. He's kind of that straw, right? When we talk about the straw that stirs that drink, that's Harper. It really is. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you that, this guy is going to turn back the clock? I don't know. Who's your Commanders? Jane and Daniels going to throw to out of shape Debo, 100-year-old Ertz? Does the Garrett Wilson signing help your boy McLaren? There it was. I mean, we were doing so well. We were doing so well. We were talking Harper. We were talking NL East. We were talking, postseason. And just like that, the room has not been read. It hasn't. I'll get to your NFL comment in a second. Dare I say Harper has not met expectations? No, you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. If you look at Harper's numbers in Washington, okay, look what he's done in Washington. He had 42, 24, 29, 34 his last 4 seasons. He comes to the Phillies, he had 35. Obviously, we have COVID in 2020. Then he had the really nice, strong year in 2021. But then 18, 21, 30, and now just 10, and he's banged up and he's missing time. I mean, you bring in a guy like Harper, you make a move for Harper because you're doing it because you believe he's that last piece to get you over the hump. Period. Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. You're right. I don't even know why. I don't even know. That's on me, to be quite honest with you. I don't know what I was thinking. Seriously, I have to know better. Doing this as long as I have. I thought maybe 15, 20 minutes in the show we had something. It was going to be a Read the Room Tuesday. I can't make it a WTF Tuesday because we had that on Friday. But and this cat comes with his NFL nonsense with Jaden Daniels in Washington, still focused on the Washington Commanders. Unbelievable. That contract Wilson got is a monster deal. I'm curious to see what his production is like with Fields running the football. And oh, by the way, the Jets made Sauce Gardner 4 years, $120. So you're talking about back-to-back 24-hour span right now for the New York Jets. Monster contracts. Long-term extension with Garrett Wilson. They turn around and they reward Sauce Gardner with a record-setting contract, 4 years, $120, which includes $85 million guaranteed. All-Pro, 2 times highest paid NFL cornerback based on average salary per year, which is $30.1 million. He surpasses now Derek Stingley Jr. with the Texans, who got that 3-year, $90 million extension in March. Stingley was drafted 3rd overall, 1 spot ahead of Gardner in 2022. So the Jets are locking up who they believe are their core players. I still don't think they're going to have a very good season. That's just my opinion. But they're locking guys up. And you just got to remember, a couple years ago, Jamal Adams. Remember Jamal Adams? Oh, he was a stud. He's fantastic. He was great. He had that great game against the Giants. He had the pick, the fumble return for a touchdown, a couple sacks, and everyone was saying all world, all pro. What has he done lately? Sometimes these guys get the money and they're not as motivated. It's something to watch. It is something to watch. You want to. You pay these guys, then, you're hoping that, they're good. C chimes in. Q, I'm so glad that FS1 canceled Speak. What the hell kind of name was that in the facility? I mean, kidding me? Brings a smile to my face. Both shows consistently spewed garbage. Bad for the sports they covered. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't, when you have the talking heads there, like I believe there are some out there who at this point, they make so much money, and we can sit there and say solitary Stephen A. They do zero. They do zero homework. None. They don't. They really don't. Cowherd does zero homework. Talking about an all-time quarterback list or, bust. And then he's talking about current quarterbacks like a year ago, and he brought up Dwayne Haskins' name. And I'm like thinking, does he not know that Dwayne Haskins passed away? Talking about active quarterbacks. I mean, you should not be on the air if you don't know that crap. Sorry. I don't care who the hell you are. Like, get off the air. That's bad. So some of these guys, they just, Acho, he's a race baiter too. He really is. He really is, man. Like Ryan Clark. He does the same nonsense. And sometimes you gotta cut ties, man. You do. And listen, they can go, they're going to go on social and they got paid hundreds of thousands, millions. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. Period. No Taylor, Acho, Craig Carton. He'll probably go back to radio. He might go to XM. He will be fine. Period. But I'm telling you right now, man, make a better choice when you hire these guys. Seriously. Make a better choice when you're hiring these people. Vet, are they qualified or are you just bringing in names to bring in names? You got a certain platform. Like, why are you giving certain talking heads a large platform who they don't even know what the hell they're talking about half the time. They're just spewing nonsense and garbage. Clicks, 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 clicks. Like, don't repeat history, but some repeat history constantly. The room had too much dead air. I had to do something. Sorry, no NLE stakes. There's no, what are you talking about? Dead air. We've been on the air. We're fine. You're bringing up Washington nonsense, period, which makes no sense. What are you doing? Vince from Puerto Rico chimes in. So maybe I missed it, but what are we saying about Cooper Flagg now? Struggling in Summer League is not a good look. Most of those guys won't be in the NBA. So what does that say about him? Oh, stop. I mean, again, even from Puerto Rico, Vince, even from Puerto Rico, you know why they're shutting him down, right? You know why they reportedly shut him down? Because they saw enough, period. They saw enough. These takes, just stop. I'm more curious to see what the hell's going to happen with LeBron James. Now they're connecting the dots. They're saying big news coming out of Dallas. Getting ready to make a big move. Flagg scores 31 points against the Spurs. Oh, by the way, against number 2 pick Dylan Harper. 31 points, Summer League. They shut him down. I think that's a good showing. That's just me. I think that's a good showing. I think we can live with that showing. Flagg's going to be a good pro. He's going to be a good pro. And if anything, he's going to give him something on the defensive end of the boards. I'm really curious to see this news coming out. They're talking about, with LeBron and the Dallas Mavericks. And now there's some buzz. There's some buzz. LeBron to Dallas. Now, I don't know. We're going to put how much stock you guys want to put in that little juicy tidbit. I mean, honestly, I don't care. They saw Flagg and said he's ready. Exactly. That's it. That's exactly it. 31 points. He's good. I don't have to see enough. I don't have to see enough. I already know. Jarrett Jet fan chimes in. Q, what do you think of my man Sauce getting paid, lockdown? Good for him. Good for him. Shutdown corners, lockdown corners get paid. Wide receivers get paid. Tackles, left tackles get paid. Edge rushers get paid. The quarterback gets paid. That's just the NFL. Now the pressure's on Sauce. the pressure's on him to perform this year and have a, you got to have a all pro type of year. But these contracts, it's because of what you've done, not so much what I think you're going to do. I think it's what you've done and what I believe you can do, what you're still going to do. And he has played very well. He really has. I'm not going to put him in the pantheon, like you guys want to, the all-time greats right away. I think when we start to do that, we got to back it up a little bit. But kid's only 24, right? And they're not throwing at him. So you sit there and say, well, he doesn't have any interceptions. Yeah, well, guess what? They're not picking on him. They don't want to because they know he's a ball hawk. They know he's a very good player. It was the whole thing with Revis Island. Don't throw at him. Don't throw at him. Don't throw at him. Enough missed shots, enough turnovers. One game is what we're hanging our hat on. Just want to make sure. No one said one game. I'm not telling you. There's the hate. I mean, from Puerto Rico, you're probably surrounded by beautiful scenery, not to mention the ocean. It's probably a gorgeous day. You might be having a couple pops, a little rum, little Puerto Rican rum, maybe a little cerveza, maybe a little Corona. You're tuned in, which I love, from Puerto Rico. Thank you. And you still got to come in on a Tuesday and you got to break them about Cooper Flag. What's the problem? What's the agenda against Cooper Flag? I mean, my goodness, do you want me not to read the room? Do you want to start talking about Jags football on a friggin' Tuesday, Vince? Is that what you want? We can do that. I mean, I can pull up the roster if you want. I can. We knew the kid was going to be the consensus number one pick. So what do we need to see? Seriously. I'm being honest here. What do we need to see? You had 5 or 6 players you want to watch. That's it. You want to see what they're going to do. I watched Flag play. I watched him play. I watched a couple. I thought that first game he was a little timid. He was dishing, looking for a shot. And then here we go. He scores 31. Like, I don't need to see anymore. I watched the kid play in college. I mean, if anything, a guy like Bronny James needs to show me something because he's a developmental guy. Cooper Flag doesn't need to show me squat. He was the best player in college friggin' basketball. And I got to watch him now? I watched the kid Jackson play for Memphis. I thought he was a player. Saw the kid from Milwaukee play a little bit. Obviously Ace Bailey. We saw Edgecombe. He looks like a player. I don't have a problem if the Sixers decide to shut him down. He showed me enough too. He had that minor thumb injury, but he showed me enough. He showed me enough in his summer league debut. He looked every bit the part. Edgecombe did. I don't need to see anymore. That's for you guys. Go ahead. October's going to be right around the corner. Talk to me in October when Flag's averaging 18 and 12 as a rookie. I mean, we get so fixated on this kind of nonsense. We do. We get so fixated on this nonsense, period. Watch out for the rum with the cinnamon stuck at the bottom. Yeah. I mean, he might have already had a couple. I don't know. He might have had a couple. All right, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. I really do love that commercial for various reasons. 5:30. I don't know what happened to our guy, Lloyd Vance. Very un-Lloyd Vance-like, but we'll take up to 6 o'clock nonetheless. Let me get to a couple more of these comments. That is a great commercial. It's a great spot. It really is. It's a great spot. What does everyone want to say? Q, did you see that Durant cooked Acho and then they canceled a show? Laugh out loud. Listen, I think hot takes are exactly what they are. They are hot takes, right? They are takes that we have fun with them, but we really don't. I would say a bold prediction, there's a lot more credibility and juice behind that than a hot take. Like, I'm not a hot take guy. Unpopular opinion, bold thought, prediction. But to say something like last week, we were talking about the boxing, we were talking about the fights, and I was very honest and adamant, and I believe what I said regarding MVP and Jake Paul. Some of you thought it was, quote, hot take. It wasn't. I'm not going to say something just to say, I don't care whether 15 people tune in, 100 people tune in, 1,000 people. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. It's not for clicks. It's not for views. It's not what I'm going to do. That crushes your credibility. It does. And I think with some of these networks, they wanted to go the hot take route. And the issue is when you have all these shows and you've got other shows that you can promote, or you can have certain shoulder programming around certain sports, and you can, again, get better eyeballs. You don't need 1,000 different shows. JD chimes in, Q, let's be honest. That whole network was garbage product. All those talk sports shows just canceled were absolutely trashed. One of their top CFF products with Big New Mutant, the crowd noise and atmosphere to enhance your guy, Gus Screaming. I mean, I'm not going to, I don't have to like them. It's not for you. It's not for everyone. I'm not going to sit there and say those, shows or host are garbage or trash. I'm not going to, that's rude. That's condescending. That's, that's not professional. I don't have to like the shows. I don't have to like the takes, and I don't have to like the talent. I don't watch. Somebody asked me this the other day. Someone hit me up on Facebook and said, honestly, Q, when was the last time you actually watched SportsCenter? I could not tell you. I just could not tell you the last time I honestly watched SportsCenter. I don't have an answer to that. I don't watch those shows. I just don't. I'm not lying. I'm being fully transparent with you. I do my own stuff. I create my content. I stay busy with the pods, the audio, the channels, the broadcast, the boxing, the basketball. I don't have time to watch those things. I don't. I watch my sports. There are, like the NFL Network, I think it's lost a little bit of its luster because of all the changes they've made. But some of these younger talent, they have an opportunity to cash in. Go. Cash in. And I also believe some of these networks, they just want to hire ex-jocks because they're ex-jocks and they have to have an opinion that is worth something. Their thoughts, their insight has to be of value. Well, that's not necessarily true, because sometimes you listen to some of these ex-ball players, these ex-NFL players, these ex-NBA players, and honestly, my friends know more about those respective sports and add more insight on a text feed than these guys do. Well, some of them do. Than these guys do. I mean, it's different now. It really is. If I'm putting on a show, right? Like, for instance, just having fun doing the show during the week, every day. I'm bringing on my guests, talking sports, having a couple laughs. Here we go. I'm not going to sit here and say something so outlandish that I honestly don't believe because it might get me a couple more eyeballs. That's just foolish. I call that clown talk. It's clown take. And we've seen too many of it. These guys are making millions of dollars and they don't research. They don't study. That's embarrassing. That is pathetic. That is a disgrace to the profession. You just show up old school and you think you flip over a laptop in a newspaper. You know what the frig you're talking about? No. Horrible. It's dry, it's lazy, and it's saturated. 36 different shows in the morning. 36. Every channel. Something. I'm like, no. Scott chimes in. Some of the shows I watch have become predictable, especially ESPN, when it comes to only certain athletes. Yeah, it's the same nonsense. I stopped watching. Every morning they were talking about the Yankees, LeBron, and the Dallas friggin' Cowboys. Who the hell cares? And I'm a Yankees fan. I don't want to hear it every day. I don't. I really don't want to hear it every day. I don't. And Fox knows that. Fox knew that. Plus, when you have a lawsuit hanging over your head, you understand you got to make some changes. Look, they brought in Carton. Carton started in Philadelphia, then he worked at 1015, then he went obviously to the Fan, and he had success. And then, he got in a lot of trouble with the gambling, repented, went to jail, came back, went to the Fan, and then have an opportunity to do his own TV show and get paid a lot of money. And he took advantage of it. But that show didn't push the dial. It didn't push the needle. It just didn't. It didn't. It did not. Now, did I watch for a show or two to see what it was going to be about when he came back on TV? Yeah. And then I turned it off, and that was it. Because you just know it's not going to move the dial. It's not going to move the needle. When you have 3, 4, 5 guys sitting at a table and they're all talking at each other, it's as bad as having 3 people in a broadcast booth trying to call a game. There's no rhythm or rhyme. There's no continuity. As soon as you're getting ready to make a point, you got to go on to something else. Come on. And I don't care, quite frankly, how good looking you are in front of the camera. If you don't know what the frig you're talking about, you're going to get exposed. Period. You're going to get exposed, and you're not going to be taken serious. You're just not. I don't care what network, what platform, what outlet, what radio dial you're on. And trust me, I've worked with some people like that over the years, where I just kind of sit back and I'm like, do you even watch the friggin' games? Now, I joke on Sundays with the Giants and the fishing and whatnot, but you guys know I go right back on that Monday and I watch the game in an entire snap. I do. You got to be prepared when you come on the air. You have to. And it's getting to the point where it's now, let me just say something crazy, just to say something crazy, because I believe it's going to attract the eyeballs. Got to say it. I have to say it. I have to be outlandish. I have to do that contrarian take. I got to do that 180. I have to say something that's going to make everyone gasp. Why? Why? Is it going to put more money in my pocket on this day? It's not. It really isn't. And that's a lot of times with these shows, the mothership has just gone downhill. Remember when the mothership had Dan Patrick and Oberlin and Stuart Scott and they were doing, Sports Center? You watched it, man. You didn't care about the nightly news at 6. You wanted to watch Sports Center. You wanted to watch 6, 6:30. You wanted to watch at 11 o'clock. You wanted to know what was happening. NFL prime time. You wanted to watch all that stuff, the highlights, when it was sports. When it was sports. Now it's not. It's woke. It's politics. It's cramming certain stuff down your throat. I don't want that. I want sport. Yeah, have an opinion. Yes, you can talk about certain things, hot button issues. I'm all for talking about things that make people feel uncomfortable, especially when it has to do with sports, when it has to do what's going on with sports, when we talk about, again, the collusion or the gambling or the betting or the social stuff. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But ultimately, eventually, the act wears thin. It wears thin, period. It just does. It just does. It gets old fast. And it's just repeat and rinse and repeat. And what are we going to say today? What are we going to talk about today? Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys, who haven't been relevant since 1995. Let's talk about the Yankees, who haven't won the World Series since 2009. Oh, let's talk about LeBron like he was still in Cleveland. Well, come on. Come up with something else. Got to be a top 5 list. Got to be a top 10 list. Let's just burn 2 hours on that because you got 2 talking heads that played in the NFL and one of them says one quarterback stinks. Now all of a sudden, everyone's got to run with it. Who cares what he says? There's no merit to it. None. With the advance of technology and media personnel, there's way too much coverage now that leads to either repetitive subjects or endless hot takes to get views. That's bingo. Bingo. That's exactly what it is. Now, everyone, or you guys have an opportunity, you turn and you listen to what? Podcast. Audio versions, podcast. Or you watch, syndicated radio or simulcast on the TV. It's bad. It is bad. Remember the sports reporters on a Sunday? Little coffee, hit the diner, come back, get the paper, hang out, 11 o'clock. The sports reporters, right? Great show, a legit show, a round table of guys that actually knew what the hell they were talking about. Like the sports reporters, to me, I guess it was like 9:30, 10, but you know what I'm saying. Every Sunday, and then they replayed it. Oh, the show was phenomenal. They would bring on the writers because back in the day, the writers were the guys that were in the know. They covered it. I mean, you had Gary Thorne, Dick Schaff, John Saunders, you had Lupica, Album, remember William Roden, you had Stephen A., who was Stephen A., Stephen Smith, not Solitary, you had Ralph Wiley, Wilbon started, Feinstein. You had a cast of characters, man. It was legit. Guys were dressed up, had their suits on, well-groomed, relaxed, buttoned up, looked good, had their coffee, and they talked sports. They talked sports. Now it's, let me just come up with Karl Anthony Towns is a loser. Oh my God, let's run with it. LeBron James is not better than Michael. Oh, run with it. Dak Prescott is definitely still top 3 quarterback. What are you doing? Just get hit in the head? Run with it. It's like, oh man. At least SportsCenter kept the not top. I don't even watch it anymore. SportsCenter, Sports Reporters was a fantastic show. Mike Lupica, correct. Right? And they had to, I'm Mike Lupica, and the Giants might need to look for another head coach. Like that was great stuff. That was appointment viewing television. And now we've lost it. We've lost it. We get the NFL players, and this is not an indictment on some of these guys, but they're talking sports that they have no business talking about. They don't. I'm sorry. It's not their wheelhouse. Like, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. It's awkward. It's cringe-worthy. It is. It's cringe-worthy. When I got to listen to someone, and you guys might think that about me, and that's okay. But when you're listening to someone who does not know what they're talking about, like, I tend to stay in my lane. I like to think I'm well-rounded when it comes to sports. And I might know certain sports more than I know other sports, just like you guys. But stay in the lane. But that's not what we're doing anymore. That's not. And then I got to hear all this other nonsense, about equal opportunities. And, when you get to, man, I don't care, white, black, yellow, green, female, male. If you know what you're talking about, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to watch. You know how many doors that have closed in my face over the years, and you basically have to just keep knocking and shut, just kick down and kick down and kick down. I'm not coming up here. I'm not bitching, whining, and complaining. Like, just find a way. Seriously, just find a way. Find a way. Create your own stuff. Carve out your own niche. Create your own content. It's bad. Some of these young broadcasters out there, it's bad. Going social, crying that they got, they lost their first job. Everyone loses their first job in TV and radio. You should. That's a rite of passage. You should get canned or cut back or laid off. You have to go through that. You have to. Because then if you go through that, it makes you see if you're really hungry enough. If you're willing to just deal with the nonsense or make the move. Go somewhere for a low-paying job just to get some reps. Now you got to go on social media and you got to cry and hope somebody, you tag the right person to get a job. Get the hell out of here. Come on, just stop. That's ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Monday Marcus Q. I always enjoy the rants. It's not a Woosah Wednesday, but not bad on a Tuesday. What do you think about the Kansas City moves? Not bad. Not bad at all. They're trying again. That Trey Smith deal is a big one, 4 years, $94 million. They're trying to lock us some players as well. I did see this. We talked about this with the wide receivers, underrated guys, and I had to bring this up. How about the Commanders back then? Of course, the Redskins retiring Art Monk's number 81. Has there ever been a wide receiver who just quietly kind of went about his business and had a remarkable career? And by the way, Art Monk from, I'll wait for it. If you guys watched, you should know. Art Monk from White Plains, New York. I'm not a sexist at all, but it's so overboard with every channel shoving a hot lady with semi-knowledge takes. There's nothing wrong with that comment. It's not. If you're good looking, if you have charisma and charm and the camera eats you up, you should take advantage of it. You should. And if you get paid for it, that's great. But if you don't know what you're talking about, regardless if you're a man or woman and you're good looking or not, if you're really good looking and you're a man or woman and you're on TV and you don't know what the hell you're talking about, you're allowed to get called out. That's sorry. You are allowed to get called out if you don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't have to be, why are you going after him? Because I'm X, Y, and Z. That's not it. I'm going after you because you don't know what you're talking about. I don't care if you wear a skirt or heels or not. I'm going to call you out. Seriously, I'm going to call you out. And that's the way it should be. And again, it's just, there are some very knowledgeable talking heads out there that I respect, and contemporaries that I think do a fantastic job, male and female, white, black, yellow, green, red, purple. I think they do a fantastic job. They deserve to be in the spots and the roles that they're in. But there are others that, I'm sorry, have not earned it. They haven't earned it. They've showed up, they've smiled, and here you go. It's not how it works. And the young generation in the media and the sport broadcasting world, they're in for a rude awakening, because if they're complaining, whining, bitching, and crying right now because you're 23, 24, and you got laid off from a job and things aren't going right, you're not going to last. You're not. Mina does. I'm not a big fan of Mina, though. Now, Kay Adams, I'm a big fan of Kay Adams. You know why? She's very good. And yes, she's the few that lives, breathes, and eats and sleeps NFL. But she knows exactly how to make all her guests comfortable. And she has a very good personality. She's not going to undercut the guests. That's the other thing. The talking heads, you start bringing in anyone, and they're looking to embarrass some of their guests or the athletes. Now, if the athlete has a criticism towards the talking head can certainly have criticism towards the athlete, but the talking head should not take it personal, because it's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. And now, and a couple of you guys pointed this out. Tom did in Summers Point. Joe D in South Philly just pointed out, basically said, the talking head should not go after the athletes like they do. It's disgusting. There's a difference between having an opinion and attacking somebody. And that is fair. What you guys are saying. You're allowed to have an opinion and you can be critical of something. You don't need to make it personal. You don't. Because eventually karma is, what? And it's going to come back around twofold. And it's not going to be good. You don't need to take personal shots at these guys. Look, there are some players that I don't like their game. There are some guys that don't have a character. They're not good character guys. We call them out. Of course. But you never want to make it to the point like some of these hosts do. I mean, come on, man. You got, a great, an all-time great station back in the day in the Fan. And you guys going on there basically saying Pete Alonso is a cancer 2 years ago and get rid of him. Well, he hasn't moved and he seemed to be a great locker room guy. You're talking about Karl Anthony Towns, who by all accounts is a good kid. Now, I don't like his game and it frustrates the hell out of me, but I'm not going to sit there and call the guy a loser. You might say, you know what, he's not a winning player, but I'm not going to sit there and, make it personal. I mean, half these guys are saying stuff. You think they're really going to have the balls and stones to say it in front of the guy's face? Are you kidding me? Have an opinion. Have an opinion. Back it up. Stand by it. But know what you're talking about. Because the smart players, and trust me, I know a lot of them, and they know. They know if you know what you're talking about within 30 seconds or you're BS. And the one thing is, you lose a trust of a player that you're trying to build a relationship with or rapport with, you're never going to get it back. And that player is going to tell another player, is going to tell another player, and it's like whisper down the lane. You're never going to get anything from them. The same to be said with some of these insiders. That's a thankless job to some extent, but also sometimes, discretion is the better form of value at times. And some of these guys, they don't understand that. They don't. But these young kids, man, they are going to have a rough time. A rough time. Let me pull up, de facto mentioned his McLaren comment, and I did want to bring that up, even though he wasn't reading the room on a Tuesday. What we know right now, there is a disconnect with McLaren and where he believes he should be at, or McLaren, however you pronounce his name, with the Washington Commanders. Because being frustrated is one thing, but frustration leads to being ticked off, what leads into what? Not showing up for camp. And now he comes out and says he's not sure if he's going to hold out for training camp. Now, as I mentioned, they need him on the field, period. And he's coming off a wonderful season. He was a key part of the Commanders going to the NFC Championship game, 82 catches, 100, what do you have? 1,096 yards. I think he had 13 or 14 touchdowns. He was great in the playoffs. He was steady, 2-3 touchdowns in the playoffs, 14, 15 receptions, like close to 300 yards. He's a big-time playmaker. A big-time playmaker. Has what? A year left on his remaining contract of 3 years, $68 million, which he signed in 2022. Now, the problem is these guys sign these contracts and they see what other players are getting paid in their position, and they're coming off big seasons and they want to get yours. It's like the chicken or the egg. There's the rub. Can I fault him? Can I fault him for wanting a new contract and ripping it up? I can't. But there's also a sentiment that says, well, you got one year remaining, honor it, go out, ball, and then cash in. But that's not the NFL we live in. And the fact that he's really frustrated and he told pool reporters that today, that's not good. It's not. And he skipped mandatory minicamp because he's trying to hold out for a better deal. Now, if he skips training camp, that's trouble. That's trouble. That's the last thing that they need. Mark the tape in 10 years, it will be AI and algorithms. I mean, maybe I can sit back somewhere and fish and just talk, or like there's a chip in my head, and then I'll pick up everything. Yeah, well, listen, you can be a locker room leader and still hold out. Strahan did it with the Giants, and then he came back and they won a Super Bowl. He was thinking about retiring. We've seen it. Emmitt Smith held out the first 2 games, and the Cowboys still went on to win that Super Bowl that year. He's a locker room leader. You're allowed to, again, hold out. There's nothing wrong with that. He wants to get paid, but you're cutting it close. You're cutting it close. You really are. It's kind of different, the situation going on. Okay, the 49ers, so the kid Jennings wants a new deal. There's a difference saying I want a new deal or trade me. Now, it's not apples and oranges because he's also in the final year of his deal and he wants a new contract. If he doesn't get it, then trade me. But this is now the theme with the 49ers in back-to-back years because they did this with Ayuk. It's a second straight summer. So that's an organizational thing. You got to nip that in the bud. You have to. Now, as a player, if I want more money, I'm going to ask for it. But I also think there's a way to go about it. And I'm not going to threaten with, trade me. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. And the player, you got the agent. and the agent's telling the player, or the player's handlers or family friends, they're whispering in the player's ear and they're saying, look what these guys are getting paid. They're not treating you fairly. Go out and get a better deal. Okay. Some instances, like with Saquon and the Giants were just not going to pay Saquon. And the Eagles did. And the rest is history. There's no right or wrong in that. I don't care Mara sitting there saying, I'm not going to sleep very well if he signs with Philly. It was almost inevitable he was signing with the Philadelphia Eagles because that's just life of his Giant fan. But the Giants didn't want to pay him. And the Eagles did, and he had a phenomenal season. He's not putting up those numbers with the Giants in that offensive line last season. He's just not. And it worked out. You decide, I'm going to pay you, I'm going to trade you, I'm going to release you, or you're not going to get paid. Sit out, hold out, lose money. That's up to the ownership group. It's up to the GM. I mean, you would like, if you're a Washington fan, this to get resolved. If you're a 49ers fan, that to get resolved. But sometimes they don't, and guys hold out. The Le'Veon Bell was a very unique situation because he did it. And as a running back, part of you says, okay, the wear or tear, you're going to take a little time off. He was never the same back. That was the advice he got at that time during his career to hold out like that. Absolutely. And players don't want to be tagged. That's the other thing. The Steelers, they tagged him in 2017. The Giants were going to do the same thing with Saquon. And then the Steelers tagged him again for the second straight year. And remember, too, he missed. He didn't sign. He refused to tag. He didn't attend any activities. He missed the first 9 games. He didn't report. And then that's when they came out and said, we're not going to use the franchise tag, which means you are a free agent. But it bit him in the butt. Even though he signed that money with the Jets, he was just never the same player. And he bounced around with 3 or 4 more teams. But, listen, he was on pace. Le'Veon Bell was on pace to be a Hall of Fame running back. I mean, if you think about this, he ran for 1,300 yards in back-to-back seasons. He didn't play in 2018 because of that contract dispute. He never even touched those numbers again throughout the course of his career. And up to that, he had almost 7,000, 5,000, 6,000 rushing yards, I believe. So he was well on his way to 10,000. It was a bad business decision, and it blew up in his face. But he believed in it. He wanted to stick to his convictions. It didn't work out. McLaren, I don't know. I would like to see the Commanders get a deal done because I think they are on the, they're trending up where they're really going to compete with the Eagles in the NFC East. And I think it would be great to watch that team in full strength. But sometimes players decide it's not in their best interest. And sometimes players get really bad advice. Really bad advice. Think about the players the Jets signed. 2 of their 4 top 36 picks, Sauce and Garrett, signed 2 long-term deals. You still got Johnson and Breece Hall, who's a big-time player. He's entering a big year. Big year. So, I mean, Breece Hall is going to want to get paid. He's going to want some money too. That's why he's looking around saying, all right, here we go. Sauce 4 years at a 120. Garrett Wilson 4 years at 130. How about me? My turn. You got money for me? I mean, it's like that Simpsons episode when Bart went to Grandpa Simpson. He kept opening up the wallet with nothing left. I think the Jets will be compelling in this regard. I'm rooting for Justin Fields. I don't think they're going to be a very good team as a whole, but I want to see this kid do well because I think he got a raw deal in Chicago. And I also think that the Pittsburgh Steelers should have re-signed him and they chose not to. CJ chimes in, Q, I know you haven't mentioned this in a while. I thought you were going to have the spot with Lloyd, but it does appear that Daniel Jones is the guy. It would only make sense, would it not? Daniel Jones goes out and balls for the Indianapolis Colts. It would just make sense. Seriously. Because that's kind of the run that the Giants have been on lately. When we talk about, some of their players that it did not work out. And we'll leave it at that. All right. We will try to punch up Lloyd tomorrow. I know we got to start wrapping it up. Good stuff with the comments. Tomorrow on a Wednesday, it will be a Woosah Wednesday. We'll get back with our picks. We'll recap the All-Star game. We'll start to look ahead. Second half of the baseball season. Want to remind everyone, get social with me, please. You can follow on Triax57, Facebook, and IG and X. Log on to Triax57.com. Follow myself on IG and X at Rich Q on Q, TikTok Rich Q on the mic, posting a lot of IG content, having fun with the WABA, a couple teams that I'm calling the games for. So check out some of the players. We give them some really good exposure on IG. The most Jet thing ever would be if A-Rod went off in Pittsburgh. Yeah. For one game in an entire season. If you're talking about Rodgers throwing for 4,500 yards, 33 touchdowns, and Pittsburgh winning 11 games, and the Jets just kind of sitting there muddling through a 4-13 campaign, yes. That would definitely be the biggest, the ultimate Jet thing, the most Jet thing ever. Yeah. And I don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't see it working with Pittsburgh. I really don't. I don't believe Aaron Rodgers plays an entire season. His body is breaking down, man. I would be shocked. That offensive line did not help out Fields. That offensive line did not help out Wilson. I think Pittsburgh's in store for a long, long season. And for the Steelers fans that decided, hey, man, we're going to be de facto Jag fans hanging out in Puerto Rico, sipping a little rum, you don't even have to worry about that anymore. You don't even have to get in on that conversation. You don't. I don't blame you. Don't get in on that conversation because we're not even going to talk about it anymore. We're going to let sleeping dogs lie when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC North. But they are in store for a long, long season. Hey, look, training camp's right around the corner. A lot of storylines. We'll go through the teams. We'll kind of recap what they did in the draft. We'll start to look ahead to week one lines already. The early look ahead week one line hasn't moved yet with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Eagles laying 7, Kansas City laying 3 on the road against the Chargers. My Giant line, they are now 6.5 point dogs against Washington. 6.5. Denver, I think, has one of the largest lines of the weekend. They are 8-point favorites over the Titans. So, that'll be interesting. We'll have a lot of fun with these opening lines. All right, got to start wrapping it up on a Tuesday. We thought it was going to be a Read the Room Tuesday. Obviously, de facto kind of crushed my hopes and dreams in that regard, but we will be back in the saddle tomorrow from 4 to 6 on a Woosah Wednesday. We'll see if we can punch up Lloyd. Larry Henry, see if we get him on for a couple minutes, talk a little soccer. Also, Costco on college football. Got some great feedback on that segment, and he'll join me tomorrow. We'll look at a couple different conferences. As I mentioned, get social with us. As always, you can follow on Triax57 on Facebook, IG, and X. Log on to Triax57. You can follow me on IG and X at Rich Q on Q. TikTok, Rich Q. On the mic, Monday to Friday, middays with Q from 4 to 6 Eastern time. The show also goes right up immediately on demand on the Triax57 Facebook page. And if you guys are driving around, be very, very, very careful with all the flooding going on the Turnpike, the Parkway, and of course, everything going on in North Jersey. So as always, have a good Sports Tuesday. If you watch the All-Star game, enjoy it. Be safe, be sound. We'll be back in the saddle tomorrow on what we'd like to call a Woosah Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen dia. And if you are hanging out in Puerto Rico, definitely hasta luego, buen dia, and be safe.